sister-in-law demanded my wedding dress for her vow renewal 2 months after my wedding. She got pregnant to get the family on her side, but now her marriage is over. 29F just got married 2 months ago to the love of my life, Mark, 30M. We had a beautiful, intimate wedding surrounded by our closest family and friends. It was truly the happiest day of my life. I know, everyone says that, but it really was perfect. We planned everything ourselves, paid for everything ourselves, and it reflected us perfectly as a couple. But now, just 2 months into wedded bliss, my sister-in-law, Sarah, 32F, is causing some major drama. Let me back up a bit and give some background information on the type of person Sarah is. Sarah is Mark's older sister. She's always been a lot, very high maintenance, very demanding, and always needs to be the center of attention. She's the type of person who expects the world to revolve around her and gets extremely upset when it doesn't. She's been married for 5 years to a guy named Tom, who is honestly a saint for putting up with her. They have 2 kids, a boy and a girl, ages 4 and 2. Sarah is a stay-at-home mom, and Tom works a high-paying job, which basically funds Sarah's lavish lifestyle. I've never been particularly close to Sarah. We're cordial. We see each other at family gatherings. But that's about it. She's always been jealous of anyone and everyone, constantly making sly remarks about everything. Now, on to the current situation. You see, my wedding dress was absolutely stunning. It was a custom-made gown by a local designer. The whole family was praising me for my beauty. It was simple yet elegant. I spent months searching for the perfect dress, and when I finally found it, I knew it was the one. It was a beautiful A-line gown with a lace bodice and a flowing tulle skirt. I felt like a princess when I put it on. Mark was absolutely speechless when he saw me in it for the first time during our first look. It was a truly magical moment, and that dress will forever be associated with the happiest day of my life. We took many pictures, and the dress looked phenomenal. It was more than perfect, and I was just happy to have my moment in the spotlight. After the wedding, I had the dress professionally cleaned and preserved. I plan on keeping it forever, maybe even passing it down to a future daughter if I have one. Here's where things start to get crazy. Last week, Sarah called me out of the blue. She started the conversation with some small talk, asking how married life was treating me, the usual stuff. I thought it was a bit odd because, like I said, we're not close, and she rarely calls me. But I played along, figuring she just wanted to be polite. This is how the conversation went, according to what I remember, so please bear with me, as I believe it is important. She said, her voice taking on this weirdly sweet tone that immediately set off alarm bells in my head. I was thinking, since your wedding is over and you obviously don't need your dress anymore, I was wondering if I could have it. I genuinely couldn't believe what I was hearing. Did she seriously just ask me for my wedding dress? Excuse me? You want my wedding dress? Yes, she replied. You see, Tom and I are planning on renewing our vows next year for our 6th anniversary. It's going to be a big celebration, kind of like a second wedding, and I really need a beautiful dress to wear. Your dress is just so gorgeous, and it would be perfect. I couldn't believe her audacity. Not only did she want my dress, but she had the nerve to imply that her vow renewal was somehow on par with my actual wedding. The fact that she has been married for 5 years and just had to ask for my dress is mind-boggling. I mean, I just got married, and she already wants my dress? Sarah, I said, I'm really not comfortable with that. My wedding dress is very special to me. It's a keepsake. Oh, come on, she whined. You're never going to wear it again. It's just going to sit in your closet collecting dust. At least if I have it, it will get some use. That's not the point, I said firmly. It's my dress, and I want to keep it. I don't think you understand how special this is to me. It holds a very special place in my heart, and I am not just going to hand it over. But it's just a dress, and it's not like I'm asking you to pay for it. I'm doing you a favor by taking it off your hands. You should be grateful. At this point, I was starting to get really angry. Grateful? I repeated. Sarah, this is my wedding dress we're talking about. It's not some old sweater I'm giving away. It's a symbol of one of the most important days of my life. Well, my vow renewal is important too, and I deserve to look beautiful. Tom and I have been through a lot. We even went to couples therapy last year, and this is our chance to celebrate our love. And, like I said, it has been 5 years, so I deserve a new dress. Your vow renewal is not my problem, I said, and you can buy your own damn dress like a normal person. But I don't want to spend the money, she whined. Wedding dresses are so expensive, and yours is already paid for. It's just sitting there, being wasted. It's a designer gown, and I deserve to wear a designer gown. I took a deep breath, trying to regain my composure. This was getting ridiculous. Sarah, the answer is no. I'm not giving you my wedding dress. I don't care if you think it's being wasted. It's mine, and I'm keeping it. You're being so selfish, she shrieked. I'm your family. You're supposed to help me. I can't believe you're doing this to me. You're supposed to be my sister, and sisters are supposed to help each other out. I am helping you, I said. I'm helping you by telling you to go buy your own dress. But I want yours, she wailed. It's perfect, and it's free. Why can't you just be nice and let me have it? You're being a total bridezilla. Even though your wedding is over, you always have to be the center of attention. You were such a drama queen during your wedding and constantly showing off. I completely lost it. You have some nerve calling me a bridezilla when you're the one demanding my wedding dress. And for your information, I was not a drama queen. I planned a beautiful wedding, and I was a gracious bride. Unlike you, who throws a tantrum every time you don't get your way, I was angry and hurt by her words. She was always a drama queen, and she was projecting that on me. You're just jealous because you're not the center of attention anymore, she screamed back. You can't stand the thought of someone else being in the spotlight. You think just because you're married now, you are suddenly better than me. I'm not jealous, I yelled. I'm happily married. I don't need to be the center of attention, unlike you, who needs constant validation and throws a fit when things don't go your way. It's my wedding dress, not yours, and you're not entitled to it just because you're family. Grow up and buy your own damn dress. Fine, she shrieked. Be that way. But don't expect me to ever do anything nice for you again. You're a horrible person, and I can't believe Mark married you. You're selfish and mean, and you don't deserve that dress. I hope you never have kids, because you'd be a terrible mother. And with that, she hung up on me. I sat there in disbelief. I couldn't believe how entitled and delusional she was. My hands were shaking, and I was breathing heavily. She had the nerve to demand my wedding dress and then insult me when I refused. And to bring up kids? That was a low blow. I immediately called Mark and told him everything. He was just as furious as I was. He couldn't believe his sister's audacity. He immediately called her back to chew her out, but she wouldn't pick up her phone. Later that evening, Mark and I went out to dinner. We needed to decompress and have a relaxing evening after the day I'd had with Sarah. I could use a relaxing evening. When we got home, there was a voicemail from my mother-in-law asking us to call her back. I knew this wasn't going to be good. We called her back, and she immediately launched into a lecture about how we needed to be more understanding of Sarah. She said Sarah was going through a tough time and that we should be more supportive. She even had the nerve to suggest that I should just give Sarah the dress to keep the peace. I couldn't believe it. My own mother-in-law was taking Sarah's side. We spent an hour on the phone arguing with her. Mark was furious with his mom for defending Sarah's behavior. I was honestly hurt that she didn't even consider my feelings on this. We both tried to explain to her that what Sarah did was not right and that she was enabling her bad behavior. After we hung up, Mark and I decided to block Sarah's number for the time being. We needed a break from her drama. The next day, I woke up to a barrage of text messages from Sarah. Apparently, she had used a different number. She sent me long paragraphs about how hurt she was, how I had ruined her dream of the perfect vow renewal, and how I was a terrible sister-in-law for not supporting her. Later that day, I received a call from Tom, Sarah's husband. To my surprise, Tom was actually apologetic. He said he had no idea Sarah had done this and that he was embarrassed by her behavior. He told me that he had talked to Sarah and told her that she was way out of line. He even offered to pay for the dress, but I told him that wasn't necessary. I appreciated his apology, but I made it clear that I wasn't changing my mind. I was glad that at least someone understood where I was coming from. He told me that he was going to have a long talk with Sarah about boundaries and respect. I genuinely felt bad for him having to deal with Sarah's antics on a daily basis. He must be a really patient guy. Despite Tom's apology, the drama with Sarah continued. She started posting passive-aggressive messages on social media, clearly directed at me. She posted things like, "Some people are just so selfish and don't understand the meaning of family," and "It's sad when you realize that the people you thought were your family are actually just strangers." It was also childish and immature. I chose to ignore it, refusing to engage in her petty games. Mark, on the other hand, was furious. He wanted to confront her, but I convinced him to let it go. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of a reaction. A few days later, we had a family dinner at Mark's parents' house. It was the first time we were seeing Sarah since the whole dress debacle. Sarah refused to even look at me, and when she did, it was with pure daggers in her eyes. She spent the entire evening sulking and making snide comments under her breath. At one point, she even accidentally bumped into me, spilling her drink all over my shirt. It was a deliberate act, and everyone knew it. I excused myself to the bathroom to clean up, trying to hold back tears of frustration. When I came back, Mark had moved my seat to the opposite end of the table, as far away from Sarah as possible. The dinner was a disaster. Mark's parents tried to play peacemakers, but it was no use. Sarah was determined to play the victim, and Mark and I were not going to back down. We ended up leaving early, unable to tolerate the toxic atmosphere any longer. As we were leaving, Sarah made one last comment. "I hope you two never have children. You would set a bad example for them." Mark almost lost it, but I held him back, not wanting to escalate the situation any further. I was so embarrassed. I could not believe this was happening in front of the whole family. In the car on the way home, Mark and I discussed the situation, and we decided that we needed to set some serious boundaries with Sarah. We agreed that we would limit our interactions with her to essential family gatherings only. We also decided to stop engaging with her. It was clear that she was not going to change, and we needed to protect ourselves from her toxic behavior. The following week, I received a handwritten letter from Sarah. In the letter, Sarah apologized for her behavior. She said she had been going through a lot of stress and had taken it out on me. She admitted that she was jealous of my wedding and that she had acted irrationally. She also said she realized how much the dress meant to me and that she was wrong to ask for it. It was a surprisingly sincere apology, and for a moment, I felt a glimmer of hope that things might get better. However, my hope was short-lived. At the end of the letter, Sarah wrote, "I still think the dress would look better on me, but I guess you can keep it. Maybe you can lend it to me for a special occasion sometime in the future." I couldn't believe it. Even in her apology, she still couldn't resist one last dig. It was clear that she hadn't really changed at all. I showed the letter to Mark. He just rolled his eyes and laughed. This was typical Sarah behavior. I ripped up the letter and threw it in the trash. The whole situation has put a huge strain on our relationship with Mark's family. His parents are constantly trying to mediate, but it's no use. Sarah refuses to take responsibility for her actions, and Mark and I are tired of being the bad guys. We've started declining invitations to family events to avoid seeing Sarah, which has caused even more tension. It's a mess, and I don't know how it's ever going to be resolved. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to give my entitled sister-in-law my wedding dress? Update 1. A lot of people have asked for an update, so here it is. Not much has changed, unfortunately. Sarah is still giving me the cold shoulder. She hasn't reached out to me directly, but she's still posting passive-aggressive stuff on social media. The other day, she posted a picture of a beautiful wedding dress she saw online with a caption, "This is what I should be wearing for my vow renewal. Too bad some people are too selfish to share." It's like she's trying to get a reaction out of me. She posted a picture of a dress that looked exactly like mine and made sure to tag my mother-in-law. I've decided to take the high road and not engage. I've muted her on all social media platforms so I don't have to see her posts anymore. It's been much better for my mental health. I don't need that kind of negativity in my life. Mark is still furious with his sister. He hasn't spoken to her since the family dinner. He's also been distancing himself from his parents because they keep trying to defend Sarah's behavior. It's causing a lot of problems in the family. But Mark is standing his ground. He's been incredibly supportive of me throughout this whole ordeal. He keeps telling me that I did nothing wrong and that he's proud of me for standing up for myself. We've been spending a lot of quality time together, just the two of us. We've gone on a few weekend getaways just to escape the drama and reconnect. As for Tom, Sarah's husband, he reached out to me again last week. He apologized once more for Sarah's behavior and said he was still trying to talk some sense into her. He told me that Sarah had actually gone out and bought a new dress for her vow renewal, but she wasn't happy with it. Apparently, it wasn't special enough, and she kept comparing it to my dress. I honestly feel bad for the guy. I told Tom that while I appreciated his apology, there was nothing more he could do. It was up to Sarah to change her attitude, and I wasn't going to hold my breath. He sighed and said he understood. He mentioned that they were starting couples therapy again, and he hoped it would help Sarah work through her issues. I wished him luck, genuinely hoping things would improve for his sake, if not for hers. Mark's parents called us again a few days later. Instead of defending Sarah, they were now trying to guilt us into making amends. They said that the family was falling apart, that we were being too harsh on Sarah, and that we needed to forgive her for the sake of family unity. My mother-in-law even started crying on the phone, saying she just wanted her family to be happy again. Mark was having none of it. He told his parents that Sarah's behavior was unacceptable, that she had crossed a line, and that she needed to be held accountable. He said that we were not the ones tearing the family apart. Sarah was. He told them that if they wanted to have a relationship with us, they needed to stop enabling Sarah's behavior and start setting some boundaries with her. It was a tough conversation, and it ended with Mark's parents hanging up on him, angry and hurt. After that call, Mark and I had a long talk about the situation. We decided that we needed to take a step back from his family for a while. It was clear that they weren't going to change, and we couldn't keep subjecting ourselves to their drama and manipulation. We agreed to limit our contact with them to major holidays only, and even then, we would keep our visits short and sweet. It was a difficult decision, but we knew it was the right one for our own well-being. We started focusing more on our friends and my side of the family. My parents had been incredibly supportive throughout this whole ordeal, and they've welcomed Mark into the family with open arms. It's been refreshing to spend time with people who actually respect and appreciate us. A couple of weeks later, something unexpected happened. I received a text message from an unknown number. It was a picture of a sonogram with a caption, "Looks like you'll be an auntie again soon. Maybe now you'll understand the importance of family." It was from Sarah. I was shocked. I showed the text to Mark, and he was just as surprised as I was. We couldn't believe that Sarah would use her pregnancy as a way to manipulate us. It was a new low, even for her. We decided not to respond to the text. There was no point in engaging with her. It was clear that she was just trying to get a reaction out of us, and we weren't going to give her the satisfaction. A few days later, Mark's parents called again. They were ecstatic about the news of Sarah's pregnancy. They were already talking about throwing a baby shower and how excited they were to be grandparents again. They tried to use the pregnancy as a way to guilt us into reconciling with Sarah. They said that we needed to put the past behind us and come together as a family for the sake of the new baby. Mark firmly told them that while we were happy for them, Sarah's pregnancy didn't change anything. Her past behavior was still unacceptable. And we weren't going to pretend it didn't happen just because she was pregnant. He told them that we would not be attending any baby showers or family gatherings that involved Sarah. We wished them well. But we made it clear that our boundaries remain the same. The news of Sarah's pregnancy spread like wildfire through the family. We started getting calls and messages from other relatives, all trying to convince us to forgive Sarah. It was exhausting. It felt like everyone was taking Sarah's side and making us out to be the bad guys. I started to feel like I was going crazy. One evening, I broke down crying. I told Mark that I couldn't take it anymore. I felt like I was drowning in all the drama. Mark held me tight and reassured me that I was not the problem. He reminded me that we had done nothing wrong and that we deserved to be treated with respect. He suggested that we take a break from social media and stop answering calls from family members for a while. We needed to focus on ourselves and our own happiness. We decided to book a last-minute trip to a secluded cabin in the mountains. We turned off our phones, left the drama behind, and spent a week enjoying each other's company. We hiked, read books, cooked meals together, and just relaxed. It was exactly what we needed. When we returned from our trip, I felt refreshed and renewed. Update 2. It's been a couple of months since the last update, and things have been relatively quiet. We've maintained our distance from Mark's family, and it's been surprisingly peaceful. We've been focusing on our own lives. We even started looking into buying our first house together, which has been an exciting and much-needed distraction. We haven't heard from Sarah directly, but we've heard through the grapevine that she's been complaining about us to anyone who will listen. Apparently, she's been telling people that we're ruining the family and that we're being selfish for not forgiving her. She's also been playing up her pregnancy, acting like she's the first woman in history to ever be pregnant. From what I hear, she's been demanding constant attention and using her pregnancy as an excuse to get out of doing anything she doesn't want to do. Mark's parents have tried to contact us a few times, but we've kept our interactions brief and polite. We've made it clear that we're not interested in discussing Sarah or the family drama. We've wished them well with the new baby. But we've reiterated that our boundaries remain the same. Tom, on the other hand, has reached out to me a couple of times just to check in and see how we're doing. He's confided in me that Sarah's behavior has gotten even worse since she got pregnant. He said that she's become even more entitled and demanding, and he's at his wit's end. He's told me that he's tried to talk to her, but she refuses to listen. She's convinced that she's the victim in this whole situation and that everyone else is against her. A few weeks ago, we received an invitation to Sarah's baby shower. The invitation was addressed to both of us, but it was clear that it was more of an obligation than a genuine invitation. We knew that if we didn't go, it would just add fuel to Sarah's fire. But we also knew that if we did go, it would be incredibly uncomfortable. After much deliberation, we decided not to attend. We sent a polite card with our regrets and a small gift for the baby. We figured it was the best way to handle the situation without causing too much drama. We knew Sarah would be furious, but we didn't care. As expected, our non-attendance at the baby shower caused quite a stir. We heard from Mark's parents that Sarah spent the entire shower complaining about us. She told everyone that we were selfish and heartless for not coming and that we were ruining her special day. She even went as far as to say that we were jealous of her pregnancy and that we didn't want her to be happy. It was also ridiculous and untrue. Mark was furious when he heard about Sarah's behavior at the shower. He called his parents and told them that he was done with Sarah and her drama. He said that he didn't want to hear her name again, and that if they couldn't respect that, then we would have to cut off contact with them as well. It was a harsh ultimatum, but he felt like he had no other choice. His parents were understandably upset, but they reluctantly agreed to respect our wishes. Since then, things have been quieter. We haven't heard from anyone in Mark's family, and honestly, it's been a relief. We've been able to focus on our own lives without the constant cloud of Sarah's drama hanging over us. Update 3. It's been 6 months since the baby shower drama, and a lot has happened. First off, a lot of people were asking, why is Tom contacting and confiding with me about the situation? I think the reason Tom's been confiding in me so much lately is because, honestly, Mark and I are the only ones who really get it. We're the only ones who see how truly toxic Sarah is. So I think Tom feels like he can actually talk to me without being judged or dismissed. He knows I understand what he's going through because I've seen it myself. Plus, maybe he feels like he can open up to me as a woman. He probably thinks I have a better understanding of the emotional abuse he has endured all these years with Sarah. He needs someone to validate his feelings and tell him he's not crazy. And unfortunately, he's just not getting that from my family. Now, on to the update. Sarah had her baby, a little girl. We heard the news through a distant relative. We sent a card and a small gift, but we haven't had any direct contact with Sarah or her family. Mark's parents have been surprisingly respectful of our boundaries. They haven't mentioned Sarah's name to us, and they've kept their interactions with us brief and polite. Tom, however, has continued to reach out to me occasionally. He's been confiding in me more and more about his struggles with Sarah. He's told me that her behavior has only gotten worse since the baby was born. She's become even more demanding and controlling, and she's using the baby as a way to manipulate everyone around her. She barely lets anyone else hold the baby. Tom is constantly walking on eggshells around her, afraid of setting her off. He's also said that Sarah has been spending money like crazy, buying all sorts of unnecessary things for the baby and herself. She's been maxing out their credit cards and putting them into serious debt. He's tried to talk to her about it, but she just accuses him of not being supportive and not wanting her to be happy. He's at a loss for what to do. I've tried to be a supportive listener, but I've also made it clear to Tom that I can't get involved in their marital problems. I've suggested that he seek professional help, both for himself and for his marriage. He said that he's considering it, but he's afraid of how Sarah will react. A few weeks ago, something unexpected happened. I received a call from Tom late one night. He sounded frantic. He told me that he and Sarah had gotten into a huge fight and that she had kicked him out of the house. He said that she had accused him of not being a good father and husband, and that she didn't want him around anymore. He was calling me from his car, not knowing where to go or what to do. I was shocked and didn't know how to react. I told Tom that I was sorry he was going through this, but that there wasn't much I could do to help. He asked if he could come stay with us for a few days while he figured things out, but I had to say no. I told him that it wouldn't be appropriate and that it would only make things worse with Sarah. I suggested that he stay at a hotel or with a friend. He was upset, but he understood. The next day, I told Mark about the call. He was just as surprised as I was. He agreed that we couldn't let Tom stay with us, but he also felt bad for the guy. We decided to reach out to Tom and offer to meet him for lunch, just to see how he was doing and offer some support. We met Tom at a diner a few days later. He looked exhausted and defeated. He told us that he had spent the last few nights sleeping in his car and that he hadn't been able to see his daughter. And if I'm honest, it's been even harder for him to see his two older kids, the 4-year-old and the 2-year-old. Sarah's been actively turning them against him, and it's just heartbreaking. She's been using them as pawns, changing visitation times at the last minute, making excuses why they can't see their dad, and just generally making it a nightmare for Tom to have any sort of relationship with them. What's worse is that she's been poisoning their minds, bad-mouthing Tom in front of them. The poor kids are so confused. Tom told me that his 4-year-old son looked him in the eye and asked, "Daddy, do you not love us anymore? Mommy said you left because you don't love us." Can you imagine? It absolutely shattered Tom. He spent the rest of the visit just holding his son, reassuring him over and over again that he loves him and his sister more than anything in the world. Sarah had even refused to let him into the house, and she wasn't answering his calls or texts. He was heartbroken and didn't know what to do. He said that he had tried to talk to Sarah's parents, but they had sided with her and told him that he needed to be a better husband and father. Mark and I listened patiently and offered words of encouragement. We told Tom that he needed to stand up for himself and that he deserved to be treated with respect. We suggested that he consult with a lawyer to understand his rights as a father. We also encouraged him to seek therapy to deal with the emotional toll of the situation. Tom thanked us for our support and said that he would consider our suggestions. He seemed to feel a little better after talking to us, but he was still clearly struggling. We paid for his lunch and told him to keep in touch. Update 4. It's been a month since we met Tom for lunch, and things have taken a dramatic turn. Tom called me a week ago. He told me that he had taken our advice and consulted with a lawyer. He had also started seeing a therapist. He said that he was finally ready to stand up for himself and fight for his rights as a father. He told me that he had filed for divorce. I was shocked, but not entirely surprised. It was clear that his marriage to Sarah was beyond repair. I told him that I supported his decision and that I was there for him if he needed anything. Tom said that Sarah had been served with the divorce papers and that she was furious. She had called him repeatedly, screaming and threatening him. She had also contacted her parents, who were now trying to intervene on her behalf. A few days later, Mark received a call from his mother. She was hysterical, accusing us of ruining Sarah's life and tearing the family apart. She said that we had poisoned Tom against Sarah and that we were responsible for the divorce. Mark calmly told his mother that Tom was a grown man who was capable of making his own decisions. He said that we had only offered Tom support and advice and that the divorce was solely between Tom and Sarah. His mother wouldn't listen. She kept blaming us for everything. The call ended with her hanging up on Mark. Sarah predictably has been playing the victim. She's been posting on social media about how she's a single mother who's been abandoned by her husband and betrayed by her family. She's been trying to garner sympathy and paint herself as the innocent party in all of this. It's been infuriating to watch, but we've decided to stay out of it. As for Tom, he's been staying with a friend while he looks for a more permanent place to live. He's been able to see his daughter a few times, but Sarah has been making it as difficult as possible. He's had to get his lawyer involved to enforce his visitation rights. Despite all the drama, Tom seems to be doing better. He's focusing on his therapy, his job, and his daughter. He said that he feels like a weight has been lifted off his shoulders, now that he's finally taking control of his life. Mark and I have continued to offer Tom our support, but we've also made it clear that we can't get too involved in his legal battles. We've encouraged him to lean on his lawyer and his therapist for guidance.